Good morning, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join us for our Zeld webinar series, How to Handle the Negative Stuff Online. My name is Helen, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. During today's webinar, you will learn some golden rules and practical tips for responding to the negative stuff online. Handled carefully, you can even turn something negative into an opportunity to build trust and engage well with your customers in the digital space. Getting negative comments or reviews online can be distressing and disappointing for any small business, but at some point it's highly likely you will need to address these kinds of comments. Where do you start? What is the best way to respond to these? And who are you actually responding to? Today we will share recommendations for how to handle a number of tricky situations, including addressing trolls and fake commenters, setting guidelines for what language is acceptable and how to address breaches of your standards, and making sure every response is tailored to the complaint. Ultimately, your customers or commenters want to feel heard. We hope that with the pointers from today's webinar, you will feel equipped and ready to respond appropriately. Today's speaker is James Kelly. James is one of Zeld's marketing specialists. He's super passionate about online marketing and helping SMEs be the best they can be in that digital space. I know what James has to share today will give you some great tools for your handling complaints toolbox. There are just a couple of quick housekeeping points to cover for the benefit of those who perhaps haven't joined us previously. If you can't hear anything, please check the audio settings on the bottom left toolbar. At any point, feel free to post questions using the Q&A button. We will save these until the end. However, please feel free to post them as we go, as it may make sense to bring them up during the segment. Once we get to the Q&A section, you can participate by either putting your hand up to ask questions or just posting them for me to read. If you would like to go back to this webinar or to share it or to watch previous webinars, we do record these and they can be found on our website and YouTube. We will also send you a link to today's webinar later. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and I would now like to invite James to take us through today's webinar, how to handle the negative stuff online. Over to you, James.
Thank you for that, Helen, and good morning, everyone. I'd say it's great to see everyone, but I actually can't see anyone at the moment. But as Helen said, so today is all about kind of dealing with some of the negative stuff online, and it is every business who's online is going to deal with a negative complaint, a troll, or anything else online, and it's quite a common thing. So today we're going to be going through kind of what the different levels of issues are, what you should have in place, public social media policy, so kind of the rules and everything around engaging online and what that means, handling negative customer complaints, the golden rule of 3, which is my which is a bit of a kind of a process to go through when you get any type of negative feedback online that you can follow through. Dealing with important business updates, dealing with trolls and fake comments, and some other tips that you can use and implement whenever you want. So just as a bit of a disclaimer beforehand, so this is just around kind of handling some of the negative items, but it's not going to be it's not about handling items such as a massive crisis or a massive issue that your organization may face. So think front page media issue or anything else. In those situations, it is always best to kind of get in an expert to kind of handle that for you. So let's go through the different levels of issues. So one of the most common ones is a customer complaint or a negative review. So this could be someone giving you a 1-star rating on Google, on Zomato, on Facebook, kind of wherever there is a review site. And they're quite common. I haven't yet seen a business who hasn't had at least one 1-star review. Sometimes they're not accurate. Sometimes it's just a disgruntled customer, and other times they are fake. There's important company updates, so such as stock being out, not being able to deliver items on time, or anything else that your entire customer base needs to know. And trolls and fake comments. So we've all seen kind of, you can go onto any news website on social media or news page on social media, and you'll see trolls and other fake comments kind of quite prolifically mentioned and people trying to just egg people on. And every online business is at risk of having those people comment. So we'll start off with what you need to have in place. So the foundations for managing issues and other items online. So definitely one thing you don't want to do is have an ad hoc response to any of these items, because you want to kind of know, if this happens, then we do this straight away, and then if this happens, then we do this. And you also want to kind of set the stage of what you need and what you don't need. So first off is your social media response strategy, and that's focused on the previous issue. So if someone has a complaint about a product or a service, what's the response there? If it's around, we need to update our social media to say we're out of stock on this item, there's been an order delay, there's been other items, what's the response from there? So it just kind of dictates the steps, who needs to be involved. If you've got a social media person, a lot of complaints they'd probably handle themselves. But as it gets kind of more serious, such as like a product update or something else, then you would involve someone, either a business owner or another manager or someone else. And that will also deal with the roles, if there's an approval process that needs to take place, and what's the time response. So generally you do want to respond to any negative comment or something within 24 hours. The longer you leave it, the more likely the customer is going to just get more agitated and more angry. After a couple of weeks, they've probably forgotten about it, but you still want to be saying, showing that you're actually caring about the complaints, because those complaints do stay there. And if it's been 3 months and you look on a review site and the business isn't responding to any of the negative feedback or any feedback whatsoever, then it kind of means you do start questioning their customer service attitude. So again, who responds to what, escalation timeframes and other items. General responses to known items. So these can be just when someone is complaining, perhaps it's around if you've got, it could be a number of products, but it could be, such if you've got a clothing item and some of the stitching is coming loose, then what's the response? What's the general response there? Is it, it's under warranty, so they just need to send the product back, or what's the go there? Usage guidelines, so what is and is not allowed to be said on a page. So this is both within your business and within your online audience. So some of the kind of generic rules are, no racist comments, no harassment, no bullying, no swearing or any other type of language like that. And that's, if you go into a lot of companies, especially larger brands, they'll have this policy right there in the About Us that people are free to comment and say whatever they want. However, it's got to follow these rules and stipulations. And the other last option that you should have is banning users and hiding comments, and what the process is behind that. So banning someone is definitely a kind of a last resort. You definitely don't want it to be, I guess, trigger happy on just banning people and saying, no, you can't comment, and hiding comments as well, because you've got to kind of draw the line between what is constructive and what isn't. Sometimes you won't agree with what a customer is saying or what someone else is saying, but you can't just always just hide comments and keep it quite positive all the time, because that's a red flag if you go onto anyone's social media page and all you see is, 200 positive comments, but you can't see the other 300 comments on there or something else. So your public social media policy. So that's often going to include, like I said before, no explicit or implied hateful, demeaning or discriminating rhetoric. So think anything related to, someone criticizing someone based on their race, based on their gender, based on anything else. You generally don't want that to be happening on your social media. So racist comments, bullying, harassment, sexist, homophobic comments, any type of insulting behavior, including the promotion of violence. So that's also something to keep an eye out. Sometimes people do get a bit aggressive and they will start commenting that, they just want to do something to someone. Politicians definitely bear the brunt of that quite often. But it's also just to make sure that's there and you are kind of hiding those comments or blocking the users if need be. No swearing as well. some people have a bit of tolerance for this, and it's again within your company guidelines, and the best person to make that decision is yourself. You can make a blanket rule though of no swearing whatsoever. And also within that policy, it needs to include the consequences for breaching these rules. So is it blocking? Is it hiding comments? What happens? Is it a 1-strike policy, a 2-strike policy? You kind of go through and just determine what you want. A lot of people do, once they get told, you can't say that, they won't do it again, but some people kind of don't exactly listen to the rules. At that point, it is better to block them. So negative customer complaints. So there are various types, and there's no kind of, definite, this is the only customer complaint you're ever going to deal with, because at times it can deal with customer service. So I've seen a few online before of someone going online and saying they really love the product and everything else, but the customer service wasn't exactly great. So that could be one. It could be about the product or a number of other disputes. So you're more likely than not to receive these across both Facebook and other review sites. And the old saying of, someone with a negative experience is going to talk to 15 people, and someone with a positive experience is going to talk to 5 people is still true. The only other problem with the digital age is that people are more likely than not to kind of post multiple negative reviews. So on Google, on Facebook, on any other review site you have. And because they can do it at home, they don't have to kind of go talk to someone, which is a lot about digital behavior. People feel a lot more comfortable complaining online about things because it's a lot easier for them just to write something in 2 minutes and leave it there. And I mean, apart from that, it is a normal part of running a business. Again, like I said, I've never seen a business who hasn't had a complaint about one thing, and it's all about that customer service end of it. But don't ever stress if you do get one negative complaint. Most businesses will get at least one, if not more, and it's highly unlikely to ever disrupt your business completely. Because if it's one person saying, we've had a bad experience against 20 others saying we've had a good experience, people will look at the 20 others and be like, okay, that might just be a once in a blue moon type of thing, or maybe that customer just wasn't quite understanding. People don't just base whether or not they're going to use a business based on one negative review. Again, though, but if it becomes a substantial issue, so at that point, if you're thinking kind of front page media issue, then that is something that you'd probably want to bring in an expert to handle that. But that's the type of review that would, but those are few and far between. But the key is to act quickly and focus on getting all the facts and communicate with them. So as we go through, so the golden rule of 3 is the model I generally apply to whenever I'm handling a negative review in my past career and with anyone else who needs advice on it. So it kind of goes, it is the most effective way to deal with a customer complaint or negative review online. And the whole synopsis of it is that when someone complains, you're trying to get them to take the conversation private. So, because you don't want to get into like a public argument with a customer online because everyone is going to see that. So you want to kind of take it private and deal with it there. So the first rule is respond to everything, acknowledge the situation, and provide a way for the customer to talk to you in a private forum. So you want to have the customer message you privately, as I said before, whether that's via email or a phone call or any other way of communication, so you're not dealing with it in public. Again, you definitely don't want to get into an argument with a customer in public, because I think we've all had the experience in the past where we've gone into a shop of sorts and seen kind of an argument happen, and it's not exactly a pleasant experience for any customer. So the first rule, so you want to show that you're concerned and able to handle all complaints. And that's the first rule, is you're responding. So say I was operating a Facebook page and a customer did complain. My first response would be like the example there. So hi, whatever the customer's name is, we're sorry to hear you having this experience. It's certainly not something we want our customers to experience. Would really appreciate if we could talk to you directly about this. So if you'd private message us or reach out to us via email at whatever the email address is, we'll help get this sorted for you. So you're showing straight away that you want to investigate the issue for the customer. You're not kind of going back and saying, well, no, you're wrong, or divulging any potential private information or anything else. So you're taking the situations and saying, we want to talk to you about this. This is how we can talk to you about this. So you're not kind of dealing with issues in that public forum again. So once you do that, there is a potential, most of the time people will directly message you if it's on Facebook, or they'll get in direct contact with you. However, there are people who then decide that they want to come back again and try to, say something that this isn't good enough, or I want this, or any other type of rhetoric. So you ask them to message you again. So in this situation, you respond to that complaint, that second message, and say, yep, we hear that this is a concern of yours, and we definitely want to investigate this further. Please either directly message us, or via a Facebook message if it's on Facebook, or via an email, or using your contact form online, or something else. So like the example down there, thanks for the further information. As before, we're keen to get this sorted for you. Please message the page or email us so we can look into it for you. So again, you're giving the option to take it private again. You're showing that you want to resolve the issue, regardless of if the customer's coming back again. And then the last rule is you do not reply publicly after that. So the thing is that after 2 times, if they're coming back for 3rd time, they potentially don't want to resolve the issue. They just want to keep complaining. They want to have it out in public. They want to have an argument. You just don't know, but you don't also want to keep kind of responding, thanks, please message us. Thanks, please message us, because that could continually keep happening. But at this point, you've, from a third party perspective, which is your other customers, potential customers, stakeholders, or other groups of people, they've seen you respond to the complaint twice. They've seen you respond to say, we want to sort this out. This is how you can contact us. And at that point, it does become the choice of the customer complaining whether or not they want to contact you. You've done your job. It's the same as someone coming into the store. If they were yelling outside your store saying, with complaints, you'd ask them to come in and talk to you. If they didn't want to do that, you'd kind of just leave them to do it, or another action. But this situation, you've shown that you care. And the other thing to keep in mind is that no one expects everyone to get everything right, but what people do like is customer service, and that is one of the leading reasons behind people using a certain brand, especially behind brand loyalty and other items. If they can see that customer service is great, that a business is responsive, they are more likely to use your brand. So next one are important business updates. So there are numerous pieces of information you may want to communicate, and some of these may be required at short notice regarding stock or other items. So I think Christmas, a lot of retail stores will have that kind of massive jump in sales in the weeks beforehand. So they've got to as a retail business, you need to make sure you've got all your shipping information correct. You've got the products in stock if you're doing a promotion, and other items. And not everything can always work completely. There may be a delay in delivery times. There may be a delay in stock by a couple of days. I know a lot of businesses are experiencing that at the moment, getting in stock from overseas. So it's just about communicating that and making sure you have the plan in place. So the first thing when you're trying to communicate this is you want to know what you're trying to communicate. So it's the most important one is, don't just kind of post something out there, but what are you trying to communicate? If there's a delay in stock, when is that delay going to end? What are you doing to resolve the issue? What other key information? You need to also plan responses to what questions a customer may have, because if you do have kind of larger social media following, or lots of customers contacting you via email or phone, you want to have those questions and those answers prepared so people can quickly go through and communicate what is and isn't happening. So questions could be if it's about stock, when is the product going to be in stock? I ordered yesterday, Does that mean I'm not going to get my product? Can I get a refund? Can I get a voucher? Can I exchange it for something else? What's the go? Is there going to be a discount on shipping? So any question you think may be asked, it's best to write it down and have that response. Because then it also delay lessens that lead time of someone asking a question and then the person responding to social media, then having to go to someone else to get the response back. If it's a really out there question that you never thought of, then that's absolutely fine. And you can always respond quickly to say, we'll look into this for you and we'll respond to you in the next hour or so. You also need to communicate what your ideal outcome is in regards to a a product issue or any other important company update. So what do you want to be the outcome of all this information? Do you want people to still order something new? Do you want them to contact you for updates directly? Do you want them to request an exchange or a gift card or something else? But what is the ideal outcome? And then with that outcome, all your communication is based around getting to that outcome. And you also need to go through where does this need to be communicated. So sometimes social media isn't enough. And if it is an important update, I would caution any company from just updating something on Facebook. You also want it to be, you also want this to be communicated on your website, whether it's a banner on the homepage or throughout your website saying, we have this update, click here to read more, and you've got a standalone page. It could be via email marketing that you send out kind of that information straight away also. And other platforms you may want to have this communicated on, but very rarely is it just a single channel response. You're generally going to have at least 2 or 3 other channels you need to keep the message consistent on. And that's, once you've got kind of those 4 things planned out, then you're able to answer all the questions before you actually go out and publicly communicate items. So lastly, trolls and other fake comments. So like I said before, go on to any news site or follow any politician on Twitter and you will see all the trolls and other fake comments. This is just a natural part of running a business online. So, and you will be faced at some point with a fake review, a troll or other situation. Regardless of what happens, maybe one customer feels like they didn't have a great experience, so they tell someone else who then starts commenting and almost kind of making the situation worse, but without them actually being a customer or anything else. But in this situation, you want to play it cool and respond as per the golden rules in the first instant and the first response. So, comment that, you're really keen to look into this issue, or if you need any clarifying information, ask for that. And then kind of see what happens. After that, depending on the customer or depending on the comment, you can go to hide the comment, ban or block the user if possible. And again, hiding the comment if it's possible. On review sites, it is extremely difficult to block or hide reviews because obviously if everyone could remove a negative review online, there'd be no such thing as a negative review, and businesses will only have 5-star reviews. So hiding a comment means only the original poster can see it. You can see it, but no one else can. So that is kind of one way to kind of alleviate any situation, is that only 2 people can see it. But this means that trolls can still comment on other items and post whatever they want. So if you're going through and say you've got just one user who perhaps has been reading a certain amount of conspiracy theories or something else about your service or your product and kind of keeps going through sharing fake news or other items, you can decide, no, this is enough, we do need to block them. And to kind of point out if a troll is doing that, they're going to comment on lots of posts. They're not just going to do it on one. They're going to kind of keep going on multiple different posts you may have. They're going to respond to others. So if you've got 10 comments, they may respond to 5 of those people, and they'll keep kind of going through the replies and keep responding and doing whatever they want. They'll also post malicious or harmful comments. So if you're seeing someone do this, then it is easier to kind of quickly block them because they're not actually contributing anything. Not that contribution is an important factor, but they're not contributing anything positive. online or constructive or other items. They're just kind of stirring the pot, for lack of better words. And they'll also create derogatory comments with the intention of destroying the brand. So a lot of times online, the only recourse you have if people are kind of taking this line of communication with sharing malicious items is to ban them directly. So that's there. So some other tips when doing this. So never copy a past response. So if you've dealt with a few responses in the past, you don't just want to kind of copy something you wrote 6 months ago and share the same thing. Each situation is different, and you do want to kind of show a bit more of a personal touch to all responses. So you want to use it as a guide, but always amend it. Always amend it to better the situation and to better kind of what the response is needed. Act honestly and with integrity and keep calm. So the second tip. So easiest way is to channel your inner Ashley Bloomfield, because we're all definitely gotten used to his responses and everything at the 1 o'clock press conferences. So we know that kind of chill demeanor of just, this is what's happening, this is clear, but not kind of getting aggravated by any situation. Though it can be tempting, never add fuel to the fire by arguing online. It'll just get more people involved, and it ends up just becoming a back and forth. And if you're spending 5 hours of your day responding to one comment, where else could you be better using that 5 hours? So as much as it would be great to argue with a customer and say, no, you're wrong and this is why, 9 times out of 10 it's just going to make the situation worse. Tip 4 is block if need be. So if the person is a troll or if someone breaks a significant rule multiple times, just block them. I know it generally is that last resort, and that's why it's kind of reserved for the last step is the last thing you can do, and it's when they're kind of continuously breaking rules or other items. It's not a bad thing, blocking people, but it definitely is something you want to use as a last resort only. Tip 5, respond with facts. So if you do need to respond with any more information, make sure it's with facts. So don't kind of insinuate anything, don't read into anything too much, but what are the actual facts, and keep it really straightforward. So say if a customer is complaining about they couldn't get a special in time because they went to purchase something and it was the day after the special ended, you can say, unfortunately, the special has ended. However, please message the page and we can see what we can do for you. So again, showing that service, and the fact is the special has closed. You're not trying to say, you're too slow in ordering or anything else. Always verify that the issue has been solved. So this is the follow through a lot of businesses can forget about, is that they'll deal with the complaint, or they'll think they've dealt with the complaint and that'll be it. But you need to follow through and make sure it has been resolved. So converting someone who has a negative viewpoint of your brand into someone with a positive viewpoint will actually do wonders for your brand, as opposed to just keeping positive people positive. And that's because you've shown them kind of the, some of your brand values, and converting them from someone who doesn't like you to someone who likes you. Not all customers can be like that. Once they've had a negative experience, that's it. They'll switch to a competitor, they'll decide to use something different, whatever the case. But if you can convert them, they will be one of your biggest brand advocates out there. And brand advocates are basically like free salespeople. So they'll go online on groups and everything else and say, use this company, they're great at customer service, they're great at this, they're great at that, their product's great, they fix things, and everything else. Just make sure you reach out and ask if the solution you provided is working, and if there are any other issues that need to be addressed. And last tip, track the trends. So if you're kind of consistently getting a complaint around a certain product or certain services or other items, make sure it's, there's always one-off situations, but sometimes your customers can complain about one thing consistently, and that's one of the biggest things you can as a business look to improve on. So don't treat a negative customer review as just one thing, but actually turn around and think, okay, how can we use this information to improve and better our business? So in a way, it's a bit like market research. So think of it that way.
Cool. Thanks, James. Let me just go back to my screen. Thanks, James. That was very in-depth and insightful presentation about turning negative comments into a positive situation. You actually reminded me of an old TV advert that we used to have. I'm probably showing my age here a wee bit, for LV Martin, who used to say it's the putting right that counts. And this is going back quite some years ago now. I don't think that business is around anymore. So some takeaways for our guests to remember from your presentation. Put foundations in place for handling negative feedback. Have a social media policy or guidelines for what is acceptable, and keep in mind the golden rule of 3. I'm sure you all found James's presentation useful and picked up some valuable tips. So I have some questions that have popped up. So Morel, I think it's Morel, she said, how would you recommend responding to people who are commenting negatively on your ads because our products are made in China? So they're not outright malicious initially, usually where are you based, and then keep digging, eventually posting something hateful about China. We don't want to hide comments on our ads as this can impact performance. She said, P.S. these are not customers, just trolls. So how would you handle that negative?
Yeah, so that one's quite an interesting one, because a lot of people do have country of origin expectations of products. Because, you know, if a business is based anywhere, they kind of expect the product to be made there as well. But 9 times out of 10, that's not really possible of the infrastructure. So if people are doing that, your best bet would be to kind of own it straight away and just kind of talk about the product manufacturing process and the quality behind it. So kind of almost kind of stepping forward and kind of owning it, that yes, our products are made in China, however they're made under these situations. So, you know, they go through extensive quality checks by ourselves, and the manufacturer, when they arrive in New Zealand, we do this. And, you know, we test our products quite often to ensure that they are fit for purpose and stand up to our customer expectations. So I'll be doing that. Again, if someone is, if it does become a bit of a rhetoric that we don't like products made in China or something else, then you can start to hide those comments. That would be the best way forward on that one. But always respond, because until people kind of do start kind of making that comment that they don't like products made in China, and it just becomes a bit like that and a bit abusive, people can see beforehand that you are responding. And, you know, you can kind of really showcase your brand values and your product values at that point in time.
Nice, thank you. What do you do if a post online is receiving criticism from a fair amount of people?
Yep. So I mean, one of those, I guess the best situation I can think of that was Burger King on April Fool's. They sent out a tweet which was taken as being quite sexist and a bit chauvinist. So what they did is they did delete the post, but then they also apologized straight away. So if there is, if a post is receiving quite a bit of criticism, kind of analyze what the criticism is about. If it's about a societal issue, social issue or something else, then it's best to kind of look at it and be like, okay, have we communicated this how we wanted to? And not, most of the time it comes down to that communication principle. Like Burger King, they kind of were meant to make something a bit more funny, but they just kind of missed the goalpost. So it's easier at that point just to apologize, say you got it wrong, and acknowledge that you're going to do better next time. There's no point trying to kind of argue with a handful of people, or, you know, a fair amount of people who are criticizing you, because at that point, it does mean generally your communication was a bit off the mark. So you just have to kind of review, reflect, and just change it up the next time.
I don't think anyone's intention is to initially offend or deliberately offend the customer database.
No, definitely not.
What do you do if what is being said is completely wrong?
So if it is completely wrong, this is where it becomes a bit of an awkward situation, because as a business, you definitely want to be responding to a customer and saying, no, you're wrong, and this is why. So you can adapt the golden rules, the 3 golden rules, to kind of, you know, comment that, you know, we want to kind of find out how you got to this conclusion a bit more, please message us and showcase that customer service principle as well. If it's blatantly wrong, like on a review site, perhaps the person isn't even a customer, you can say, hi, we've tried to look at this in the past, however, look for you in our customer database, however, we haven't found you. Can you please email us or phone us at, at these contact details. If it is directly wrong, as in brand damaging or anything else like that, you can hide the comment. That would be my first step. Just because you don't want to get into an argument with people online, and if you hide the comment, you can respond at that point and ask them to message you as well. Still.
Okay, thank you. Can you get rid of negative reviews or comments?
Not really, no. So there is a bit of a, there are companies out there that do kind of purport to say that we can remove your negative Google reviews. But generally, you do have to contact the company in particular and just say, this review is fake and malicious, whether that's on Google, on Facebook, Zomato, or anything else. It is quite a difficult process though, because obviously if you could easily remove a 1-star review, no business would have a 1-star review. And there is a bit of integrity that online companies want to keep with their review systems, because it is one of the key things that people look at now today before they purchase from a brand is, what are the reviews? Is it positive? Is it negative? What do we do? So your best bet is to contact the company in particular. So if it's a Google review, send a support ticket to Google and say, look, this review is wrong, it's there, and then Google will ultimately make that call. But it is very hard to remove that negative review or anything. Your best bet is to respond and just say, look, we really want to investigate the issue, and go through those 3 golden rules.
Thanks, James. I think it's also important to keep in mind how your own standards reflect against somebody else's reviews. For example, if you're booking a hotel and they say, some sort of complaint about the room setup or facilities or whatever, whether your expectations align with the commenters.
Oh, there is. If you're booking a hotel for $50 a night and you're expecting, a penthouse suite that's $500 a night, that does become a massive difference in value between customers and what was sought after.
Expectations.
So, yeah. So you can include facts like that, looking at this, you booked that room. Yes, that room is one of our, economy range rooms or something else. We do have our more premium suites that are priced from this point and include this, this, and this. So you can also include it as a chance to upsell potential customers as well.
Nice, thank you. I have another question here. How would you respond to someone who has misinterpreted the work you do, despite that your work description is very clear? Other clients understand well, so these kinds of clients confuse me.
Yep. So at that point, if it's an online comment, again, you want to make it private. So you don't, if there is a misunderstanding between what you do and a client's expectations, a customer's expectations, then that more becomes a one-on-one conversation. There's no way to kind of say anything. Well, there's no way to kind of clear it up straight away with one message. It does become that bit of one-on-one situation. So your best bet, apply that first rule, just say, thanks for that. This isn't generally how we work. We expect that, this to happen and this to happen. However, we're keen to kind of explore this issue more with you. Can you please private message us or email us at some point? But for items like that, when there is kind of either greater expectations put on you or a lack of understanding about services or products, it does require that kind of one-to-one conversation, then kind of like a public conversation.
Nice, thank you. Now, we focused a lot on handling the negative. How can we balance that by soliciting good feedback from our clients and customers?
Yep. So good feedback's always great to try and get. Customers generally are a bit more reluctant to give good feedback as opposed to bad feedback, unfortunately. It's like that general rule that people will tell 15 others if they had a bad experience, but only five others if they had a good experience. So you can ask for people to review during kind of their engagement with you. If it's a retail store or retail front, Could be in your email marketing a week after someone's purchased a product, you ask them to review the product, ask them for feedback. Could be from a services viewpoint, if you're doing like a 3-month service with a client, a month after it's finished, kind of contacting them at that point and asking for some feedback or a review online. Generally, customers need to have a really good experience to do a positive review online. And they need to be quite comfortable, because at that point they're endorsing you in a way, and especially within kind of a difference in kind of more behavioural culture and everything else. New Zealand is very less likely to endorse people, unlike kind of overseas in the States, where people are more than happy to endorse someone. So it's a bit of a difference kind of in cultural viewpoints, but it's just asking for people to do it. That's the easiest way to do it. If you sent out 100 emails to people asking for them to review, you might get 5 positive ones, you might get 10 positive ones, but by and large, people will just kind of forget about it. I know I've been guilty of that myself. I bought a watch last year. It was a great watch, great advertising, everything else. They sent me about 15 follow-up emails before I actually posted a 5-star review. So yeah, it becomes a time thing, and it's like, well, it is a good watch, but you know, I'm not giving constructive feedback or anything else. So just got to keep asking, basically.
That is another good point, when you say that you had so many contacts from the seller to provide a review.
Yeah.
Is there a limit on how many times you should ask somebody before that becomes a
I would definitely say 15 is too much, especially as it was kind of every 3 days, then it was a week, then it was another 3 days and everything else. So definitely leave it a few times. So maybe 3 would be the max, I'd say, because after that you are just filling up someone's inbox, and it does become a bit annoying. So it might be, you know, you do it, you know, on a month after the purchase, another month after the purchase, then a month after that, and another month after that. So a 3-month process, which is good for a customer, because it means if it's a new product, they've had 3 months to trial it. And while, you know, consumer guarantees, most products are under a warranty for 12 months at least, if not longer, even though the months thing isn't actually anything in the consumer guarantees. But as people kind of get more comfortable using the product, they'll more likely give a review. They don't want to give a review the first week after they bought it, and then a month later, if the product breaks, then they've got to go change their review. They'll make a bigger issue because they thought the product was so good. So the letdown's a lot greater. So I'd definitely wait at least a month before you ask one, and never ask more than 3 times.
I think that's a good point. Asking for a review straight away after somebody has bought an item is almost pointless, because you haven't had a chance to test it. But after a certain amount of time, then it will kind of fall off people's radar to actually post a review. So yeah, a month time frame seems like a good length of time to leave it. Lovely. Thank you, James. So let's recap what James has recovered today. Whether you're just starting out or you're a bit of a veteran in the digital space, continuing to improve your knowledge and the fundamentals your digital business is built around is an important aspect. What we know: receiving negative feedback or comments is inevitable, but how you deal with it is the important thing. Remember L.V. Martin. Use the forum as an opportunity to address your wider audience, and think about how others will read and interpret your response. Handling comments in a positive, reasonable way will strengthen your brand. Be professional and courteous, and try not to take comments personally, but use them as an opportunity to create a positive impression. Sealed has helped over 15,000 businesses transform digitally over the last 20 years. It's a hard word. If you would like support setting up marketing, automation, or even getting an idea around potential digital strategy for your business, then please get in touch. We provide free strategy or website audit sessions with our team of experienced digital business strategists. If you would like a strategy session, please provide this feedback in the survey after the webinar. Our GEM, Get E-Commerce Movement initiative, is available to all small to medium businesses who need to get online. We're offering free website builds for e-commerce, service and charity businesses with a no sale, no fee hosting arrangement for the first 12 months. If you'd like to know more or know someone who could benefit from a free website, please visit our website, zeal.com, for more information. Our next webinar is in a fortnight on the 21st of April at 10 a.m. The topic is tips to boost conversion rates and increase sales with another of our marketing specialists, Nidhi. A special thanks to our presenter today, James. We appreciate your valuable insight and extensive knowledge. If you missed part of the webinar or would like to see it again, we will be posting a video of this webinar on our YouTube channel. If you know of anyone that might benefit from attending these in future, please feel free to share the link. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you here next week.